No, this man had to earn his stripes, so he is hungry. So guess what? This tells me the Cowboys defensively, they're going to be hungry too. And if you ain't hungry, if you ain't trying to eat, you ain't going to be on the football field. He is, and this is definitely high praise for me because this is what I want my guys to be if I was a coach.
If everything does click for this defense, what are we saying about them later in the season?
I think they could be a top 10 unit, honestly.
All right, so we spent a lot of time talking about the Cowboys defense this offseason, right? New pieces, the young talent, a lot of attention on what they added. But for me, the real question is about what they're actually building. Because when you look at some of these historically great defenses, it's never just the talent, it's the identity, and it's how these things come together on and off the field. So today, I wanted to bring in someone who's actually been a part of that, who understands what it's like on the inside. Somebody that's played in some great defenses and has won at the highest level in the league. So joining me right now is two-time Super Bowl champion, Bryant McFadden. What's up, B? Welcome back to the show, I should say.
Man, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the invite, man. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. See, some people might not know because it's been a minute. I had B on a while ago, and unfortunately, I said this behind the scenes. Every time I talk to him, the Cowboys defense is in shambles. So maybe he can give us some answers on how we can get this thing rolling, man.
Well, I can tell you this much. The bar is extremely low right now. So the only place you can go from where you've been is up.
That's fair.
It's up. That's the only place you can go.
But see, in Cowboys Nation, there's a certain place we want to reach. It's been a while. So we need to be better than just better, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Let's tap into your experience first, because I like when I bring you on, I like to talk about, your experiences in the league, because you've seen how to build these things. You've been a part of the elite defenses, right? In Pittsburgh. What separates a good defense from one that can actually carry a team? Because I don't think the Cowboys have had the latter for a long time.
A few things. I think number one, you start off with the defensive DNA. And what I mean when I say that, what do you want your defense to embody, right? And usually the defenders, the players, they're a reflection of the coach, right? So if you have a passive coach, a coach that's a little, he lacks the juice, 9 times out of 10, your defense is going to lack the juice. They're going to be a bit passive. You know what I mean? So if you have a coach that's energized, that's vibrant, that is full with a physical mindset, 9 times out of 10, your defense is going to embody the reflection of your head coach. So that is the first thing I look for, the defensive DNA. What do you want this defense to embody? Secondly, how you play the game. How you play the game. When I was at Florida State, my legendary defensive coordinator, who I love to this day, Mickey Andrews, he used to tell us certain things all the time, like little catch phrases that we would utilize and oftentimes exercise throughout the season or whatever the case may be, even right now. One thing he used to tell us all the time: you can't live soft and fight hard. You can't, right? Especially in when it comes to the game of football, but heck, as a man in life also, you can't live soft and fight hard. It doesn't work that way. You just can't turn it on. So defensively, are you going to be a tough group? Are you going to be a tough group? Are you going to be a group that swings first? You know what I mean? If you look at the Cowboys over the last few seasons, especially a year ago, they weren't swinging first. They were taking the blows, right? So are you going to be a physical group? And the last thing I look for, and this kind of goes with how you play the game, tackling. One thing I know about really, really good defensive units, they don't miss tackles.
Right.
Every level, first level, second level, third level guys, secondary guys, they rarely miss tackles. And if you look at one of the more dominant, consistent defenses from 2025 in the Seattle Seahawks, watch how they play the game. Watch, do they miss tackles? And even if someone is missing a tackle, they swarm so relentlessly, that second guy is right there. So you don't have an opportunity as an offensive ball carrier to have positive yak in terms of, making people miss and getting positive yards. So those are the 3 things that I look for in terms of defensive structure. And those are the foundational pieces, I think, for any defense to be at their best. Those are the things that I look for. And those are some of the things that we embody with some of the great defenses I was a part of.
Yeah, you said physical mindset, and that's perfect, because when I look at the Cowboys, I don't know that they've had that physical mindset since the the 90s type of defenses. And you come from, as you said, that culture in Pittsburgh where it wasn't just optional. It was an identity. Like that's who you guys were. What has to happen for a defense to develop that physical culture? And do you see the Cowboys trending in that direction in regards to who they hired as defensive coordinator, the draft picks, the free agent signings, and things like that?
Well, the way you develop it is make sure the standards are known,
Hmm.
right? Every year, especially there's a new coaching regime, there's a new standard for the players to learn. These are the things we're going to tolerate. These are the things we're not tolerating at all. These are non-negotiables, right? So now when you have those guidelines in place as a defense, as players, we go into the room knowing these things will not be tolerated by any means necessary. In Pittsburgh, some of the guidelines that we had in place defensively, hustling to the football. You never want to be caught on tape standing. You never want to be caught on tape jogging.
Loafing.
No, non-negotiable at all. Even if the ball is on the opposite side, you better be hustling to get in that tape, to be in that film. When that play is down, all 11 guys defensively better be somewhere around that ball, right? Those are non-negotiable. So hustling. Number two, being confrontational, right? Confrontational. And what I mean when I say that, are you turning down fights? Are you turning down a fight? Because when you play defense, it's a fight. It's your job to impose your will. But are you turning down a fight? Are you turning down contact? You know, as a corner, oftentimes when I played the cornerback position, most of the running backs I played against were bigger than me, stronger than me, some were even faster than me. But non-negotiable. I bet not turn down a contact opportunity. I better go in there and find a way to try to get him down. Because if we see you turn down that, no, those are non-negotiables at all, right? And lastly, you're never a point the finger guy, especially in the heat of the battle. You can't be a point the finger guy. Football is a very, very emotional game. Things happen in the flow of the games on the sideline. People say certain things to each other that they might not mean at that time, but they're just emotional. But you better not be a point the finger guy. You know what I mean? So those are some of the guidelines I think this staff will have in place. And Christian Parker, listen, I think he is the next head coach in waiting in the National Football League. The way he coaches the game, everything that I've heard about him, and I'm an energy guy, right? If you're in your 30s and you coaching defensive football, you better have some juice, because oftentimes in a long season, players need to see that from you. And he has the juice. He has the vibes to go in and command the entire room when he's talking to the defensive unit there in Dallas. So those are the things you have to influx instantly. These are non-negotiables right here. Hustling. If you ain't hustling,
you're out of here.
Coming out. You already know what it is, right? No, if you turning down battles, if you acting like you don't want to make no contact, either on a ball carrier or a blocker, no, we ain't doing that. And we ain't pointing the finger. We're going to talk about it amongst ourselves. That's when you have these rah-rah moments and, hey, man, you did this. But amongst the public, no. We ain't never calling a guy out amongst the public. We do that in-house.
I feel like Christian Parker would have been a guy you would have loved to be coached up from. I mean, it seems like a lot of these all-pros and Super Bowl champions at this point now, right over in Philly, they have a lot of good things to say about CP. They call him a savant, a very technical guy, very intent guy, details. And when the Cowboys drafted Caleb Downs, it felt like, well, there's your Christian Parker version on the field in regards to what they call a very intelligent guy, high IQ guy. But those are the things we see on the field. Those are the things we hear about. When you put on the Caleb Downs tape, what are some things that we might miss as fans that you're seeing?
You know what? When I watch Caleb Downs, and I'm going to use an analogy to kind of describe who he is as a football player, he is, and this is definitely high praise for me, because this is what I want my guys to be if I was a coach. He's like public transportation. He is always where he needs to be, right? I don't know if any of you guys have ever used public transportation before, but if that bus is supposed to come at 4 o'clock, that bus is going to be there. It's going to be there, right?
Facts.
If that train is going to come at 5 o'clock, it's going to be there. And that's who he is as a player. He is always where he needs to be, where he's supposed to be. Mr. Reliable. And he plays with fire in his belly. He's a guy, he's not turning down a confrontation at all. When you talk to Caleb off the field, and I had, over the course of this past year, I spoke with him quite a few times. He's an even keel guy, very, very respectful. He's nice, he's personable, but when he puts that helmet on, boy, the hell come out. Like, and that's how Troy Polamalu was, my former teammate with the Steelers. When you talk to him off the field, he's such a nice person. Hello, how are you doing? It's a pleasure to meet you. And when he get out there in that football field, like, who the freak is that?
Tasmanian devil when he's out in that field.
Like, who is that? That's who Caleb Downs is, man. So he's a football player. That's what you got to get football players, man, that love the game, that love running into people, that love making plays, and they love the process, the work ethic he has. So that's who he is. And I think when you talk about and watching the whole entire draft process, that's why he was such a high priority for Jerry, for Steven, for the entire organization, because they know he is like public transportation. He is always where he needs to be. But guess what? He don't mind swinging first, and he will swing first. You know what I mean? When you play defense, man, you can't have a bunch of guys who delivering drinks as waiters. You got to have guys that are bouncers and throwing people out of the club, disrespectful type dudes within the rules. That's who he is. That's who he is. And those are the type of players you need to have if you're trying to change the DNA of defensive football for the Cowboys.
Man, they haven't had that since Darren Woodson back there. And I'm trying to talk to Darren Woodson about this, but he's been mentioning a general. They haven't had a general in the defensive backfield in quite some time. With all due respect to the veterans that have come through over the years, it feels like Caleb Downs could have a little bit of that general type of ability as a leader and with his play on field too. You play safety at Florida State. You play cornerback as well. How quickly can you tell if a safety actually gets it from a mental standpoint, whether that be in the league, in college, coming into the league, or as a veteran? How quickly can you tell if a safety can get it mentally?
Say it again. How quickly can you what?
Can you tell if a safety gets it mentally? Because some safeties, like Taylor Mays, for instance, fantastic athlete, but clearly it wasn't all the way there mentally to reach his potential, if that makes sense.
Hesitation. Are they hesitant in their movements? Because usually when you're hesitant, you're thinking. You're not sure of yourself. It's almost like answering the question and you're like, is it option B? You know how back in the day when you have a verbal question in classroom and the teachers be like, hey, such, what is number one? Is it? And it's multiple choice. You'd be like, is it option C? And you're trying to get that help because you kind of unsure.
Yeah.
Right. So when you talk about safeties playing inside nickel, whatever the case may be, how fast do you know when they have it? Hesitation. Are they second guessing themselves in movements, in certain coverages, in certain plays, in the flow of a play? Or are they kind of taking their time, or are they playing 100 miles per hour? Because when you play fast, you know exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not hesitant. You're not hesitant and thinking about, dang, is this the right gap? Do I got to keep my outside shoulder free, or should I just kind of play it right down the middle? I'm not sure. Because when you're not sure of what you do, guess what? You don't play fast.
Mm-hmm.
You don't play fast. So that's the first thing I look for, when you talk about guys playing new positions in the secondary, or even the second level guys. Are they hesitant in their movement? You know what I mean? Because by this time, you kind of got a great understanding on how the game speed of each player you have. So you know what you should see from them. But if they're not playing fast, that means they're not comfortable within the entire scheme of the infrastructure of the defense.
Hey, that was one of the main issues last year in Dallas. The Eberflus system, the guys just weren't publicly and privately comfortable in it. And, Diggs spoke up about it, and obviously he got sent away for a multitude of different reasons. But collectively, that group was hesitant. Guys like a Deron Bland and other players that were previously good were saying, I'm doing things we weren't comfortable with, and it was affecting them on the field. And you probably popped on the tape and you saw coverage busts, communication issues, and things like that that played a major factor in this defense being historically bad. Got to shout out our wonderful partners over at Prize Picks. Make sure you play $5. You will get $50 instantly in lineups if you use the promo code HMA. NBA fans, the playoffs are here. The second round has begun, and we got some really good games going on. So I got a 4-pick power play for you. Let's start off with Karl Anthony Towns, more or less than 14.5 points in game 2 versus the Sixers. I'm going with more here. They're trying to go up 2-0 and take control of this series. The same series, same team. OG Anunoby, more or less than 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Well, he already averages about 22 points, so I'm smashing the more right here. And then we're going to the San Antonio Spurs, Minnesota series. Julius Randle, more or less 12.5 points. He averages like 18 points against the Spurs, so give me more, period. And then Steven Castle, 11.5 points. I'm going to go with less here because that Minnesota defense is stifling, is physical, so I'm going to take the less. So there you go. Head on over to Prize Picks. Use the promo code HMA. You get your $5 in there. You get $50 instantly in lineups and play this 4-pick power play. That's Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
We saw a lot, from afar watching the Cowboys. But one thing to your statement, I totally agree with. They were not all on the same page. My defensive coordinator, Dick LeBeau, Hall of Fame individual on and off the football field.
I respect
He
him
used to
so
tell
much,
us
man.
in Pittsburgh, honestly, I don't care if y'all actually play the wrong coverage. As long as everyone is on the same page, that's all I care about. Because if half of the secondary is playing 3 and the other half is playing cover 4, it's going to be a bad situation. But guess what? If all y'all on the same page, if I call cover 2 and y'all happen to play cover 4, okay, y'all on the same page.
Yeah.
Everybody knew exactly what was going on. In Dallas a year ago, there's a lot of things going on where people wasn't on the same page. That's why you saw hesitation in movements. That's why you saw a lot of people pointing. Secondary guys do a lot. Anytime somebody gets beat deep, it's like, hey, man, hey, what? Because you want everybody to know it wasn't me. But those are part of the non-negotiables. I said, we don't do no pointing in the heat of the battle. We gonna come to the sideline and figure it out. But those are things that you saw. Those are things that you saw, Cowboy fans, a year ago. Clearly, when you see those things, something isn't going well.
Right. We got Bryant McFadden joining us, 2-time Super Bowl champion, CBS Sports analyst, giving us some great insight here. There's another cat the Cowboys drafted in your backyard, Devin Moore out of Florida, long, rangy cornerback who, again, Cowboys cornerback situation, a little muddy. Maybe he'll have a chance to play. We'll see. But what's one of the hardest transitions for a cornerback, coming from college into the pros? Is it coverage rules? Is it the speed, angles, communication? What do you think is the biggest or most difficult transition?
It's a little bit of all of the above. The speed is one thing because you're playing against some of the best route runners in the world. The coverage, you're learning something entirely new for you. Oftentimes, there are double coverages that you have to get adapted to. Tight will me 63, right? That was a call we had in Pittsburgh. It's a double coverage. So based on if you get a pro set, you play the first digit. If you get a slot set, any motion, any movement, you go to the third digit, right? You got to know these things instantly. No one is going to tell you that. Bam, on the flow of the movement. They switch the formation. Now you got to know exactly. I go from 6 to 3, right? Where my help is, where I'm vulnerable at. You got to know these things. And for a guy like Devin, being a very, very lengthy guy, playing low, good pad level for him is going to be a very, 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 very important for him to be at his best, especially in transition. No wasted steps when you're coming out your plant drive. No wasted steps because as I stated, these are professional route runners. So anytime you have a wasted step, you create more separation from you in the pass catcher while he's running his route concepts. So Devin is a very, very athletic guy. Unfortunately for him, he dealt with a lot of injuries at Florida. So he never got a chance to really show what he could do. So reps will be very, very important for him throughout this entire offseason regimen for him. And staying healthy. Staying healthy has to be the key for him. But those are things that, as a young corner, you got to pick up on instantly because oftentimes splits, the alignment of a wide receiver would tell you what they were going to do in college football. But when you get to the National Football League, you might get a wide split. And because of how accurate these quarterbacks are, you're still going to get a comeback. Oftentimes you get a wide split. I ain't worrying about no comeback because most college quarterbacks can't complete no deep comeback with a wide split. So 9 times out of 10, you're trying to wide me to run something in to make it an easier throw for a college quarterback. But quarterbacks like that, Prescott and some of the best in the world right now, they can have a wide split and still be precise with that comeback route and where the ball needs to go. So those are things, little nuances that, most young corners, they have to go through the fire to figure it out. But with reps, repetition, you get more comfortable with it.
So the Cowboys, you hope coaching helps with that. And the Cowboys are now on their 4th DC in 4 years, which is kind of insane when you think about it. I don't know how many times it's happened, but this one here, we talked about it briefly earlier, Christian Parker, he just seems to be more in tune with today's player, creative, young, hungry. That's the biggest one. They've usually brought in coordinators that are retreads, if you will, don't have much to prove. This guy has everything in the world to prove, in my opinion. But what's something coaches did for you early on in your career that helped you play faster or get acclimated to the game?
Just the vote of confidence. Great coaches make you think you're better than what you are. It's almost like parenting, right? Parenting, when you parent your children, you build confidence in them when they know they have no confidence. But guess what? As that kid, when they hear their parents tell them, man, you're going to go out and ace this math test today. I believe in you. You got it. Guess what? They believe. That's what great coaches do, Will. They give you a new sense of confidence where you feel like I am the best in the world, even though you're nowhere close to being that. It's just the mental belief from great coaching. And they do it in timely fashions. When they see you had a rough Tuesday, a rough Wednesday, a rough Thursday. So guess what? On that Friday, bruh, this is your week right here. I see it. I see everything you've been doing. I understand you had a few hiccups here or there throughout the week, but guess what? Today, you're going to have a flawless practice as we get ready for our walkthrough on Saturday. And Sunday, boom, kick the door down. Let them know you here. I believe in you, and I'm going to put you in positions for you to be at your best. All you got to do is play fast. That's what great coaches do. So you talk about CP, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's the youngest defensive coordinator the Cowboys have ever hired in the history of the organization. That's a change in the guard. They bringing in some young blood, a guy who's hungry. Remember, he came from HBCU, right? So he started in the mud and he worked his way up. It wasn't like someone gave him a chance and said, hey, bro, I'm just going to give you this opportunity. I don't even know if you're prepared for it or not, if you're ready. Let's see. No, this man had to earn his stripes. So he is hungry. So guess what? This tells me the Cowboys defensively, they're going to be hungry too. And if you ain't hungry, if you ain't trying to eat, you ain't going to be on the football field. Enough is enough. Remember what I said earlier. He's the next head coach in waiting.
Yeah.
I said that earlier. He is the next head coach in waiting. So enjoy him while you can. Because in 2 or 3 years,
there you go.
2 or 3 years, his name will be in conversations about the next D'Amico Ryan-ish, a defensive-minded guy, young, vibrant, and he's looking to take an organization as a head man, not a defensive coordinator. So I love everything about him. And the thing about Christian also too, the bar is set so low, heck, a 3-year-old can jump over it. So any positives coming from the defense, Cowboy fans are going to take it and run. I've been saying this, I said this the entire season last year, right? I said Cowboys defense, with them being as bad as they were, they only needed to get in the flow of a 4-quarter game, Will, they actually only needed to get 4 stops. And 4 stops in a 4-quarter game, that's all their defense needed to get. And the reason why I say 4 is a number is because, number one, your offense was so prolific.
Yeah.
Your offense can score numbers, right? We know before you walk out of the locker room, it's almost like you got 30 points on the scoreboard because of how consistent your offense score points. Secondly, because you have the best kicker in the world, all you got to do is get close to midfield. You're in Brandon Aubrey's range right there where you're actually going to get points. You're actually going to get points. So if you're the Cowboys a year ago, if you just got 4 stops, you're in the playoffs. But they were so bad, they couldn't just get 4 stops.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
It was bad, brother. It was bad.
It was bad.
And something that you mentioned, it's so awesome to hear people outside of the Cowboys circle have this type of thought process in regards to Christian Parker. We believe he's only here for 2 years, three max, because of that same exact reason. We all think he has head coach written on. Hell, if Schottenheimer, if he gets on a hot seat, it could be here. Who knows? But what I'm hoping he's building, because I also believe in this as well. Your situation is a little different in Pittsburgh because Dick LeBeau was there for so long. But I feel like good organizations that cycle through these great defensive coordinators, they have a philosophy set in place that they keep for years. I think about Pittsburgh, even though Dick LeBeau's not there anymore, Tomlin kind of carried the 3-4 over, and that physical philosophy. Baltimore was the same way. Even though Bill was there with the Patriots, the Colts had a few. The Bucks, right? The Bucks had the same thing. These teams had a philosophy that I'm hoping the Cowboys can have with Christian Parker, even when he's gone, that he's able to develop a coaching tree. I can't remember the last time the Cowboys have had a coaching tree, so that would be awesome to see. For instance, you brought up DeMeco Ryans. San Francisco had a couple coordinators going to be head coaches, but that defense remained the same in regards of its philosophy and its mentality. And Dallas needs that real bad, brother. Real
They
bad.
do. They do. And you have to strike now with how good your offense is. You have to strike now when it comes to the championship window. Because oftentimes you won't have the luxury of having an offense that can put north of 28 points on the scoreboard any week against whoever. But because of the players they have on that side of the football field, they can, along with your kicker. Think about this with the Cowboys. Because of these new kickoff rules, when the Cowboys receive the kickoff, all they got to do is get one first down. One first down, they're essentially in field goal range. Think about that luxury. So as a defender now, you're like, bruh, almost every given time, we got opportunity to put points on the scoreboard, be it touchdown or field goal. That's important. With the new kickoff rules, you look at how guys are returning the kickoff now. I mean, now the first snap is usually on like 35 or the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
Right? So you get one first down for Brandon Aubrey, you kind of,
Yep.
You're in this area where you got, hey, man, we can try this, especially at home when you're playing indoors. So defensively for the Cowboys, they just got to get 2% better every day. That's what we used to say at Florida State. Every day, 2% better. And
You just got me thinking, man. What does that do for a defense if you know you got an offense that, from a mental standpoint, that they can go out there and get 7 if they need to, 3 if they need to. They can move the ball. But that has to juice you up as a defense if you're a good one. Obviously, if you're a bad defense.
What? We had pretty good offenses in Pittsburgh. We never had offense like that, though.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. As a defender, you're like, bruh, you got to, like I said, last year, you get 4 stops. We good. And now as a defensive coordinator, I think you should understand for CP, you call the game as such, because every time you don't need to be at your best because of how good your offense has been. But knowing Christian Parker in terms of his football mindset, no, he wants to be better than offense. Like, that's how we used to be, especially in college or in the league. No, man, we better than y'all. Y'all ride our coattail. But that drives what? A competitive atmosphere.
Yep.
That's what that drives. That's what that creates. In third down periods during the week of, man, Dak, you ain't getting nothing today. Not on this first group defense. Not today. No, George, CD, y'all better go to the opposite side. Not today, Ferguson. Nothing. You know what I mean? Now you're creating a sense of competition where that Wednesday practice essentially is not even it's more difficult than Sunday because of what you're doing and who you're going against the week of. So driving the element of competition. But to answer your question, man, just have that luxury. That takes a lot of pressure off you, a lot of stress when you know you got that type of offense and the kicker in Brandon Aubrey.
Well, that took me back to the question earlier, man. The difference between a defense that's good and one that can carry. It sounds like Christian wants to be a defense that can carry the team, and I would be dancing in the streets, brother, if we get a defense like that, B-Mac. Last one on the way out, and this is more of a projection because we've never seen Christian call a defense. These new players, it's a new philosophy, really, 4-3 to 3-4. But just based off of the draft, the things you've seen them do in free agency, coaching, if everything does click for this defense, what are we saying about them later in the season?
I think they could be a top 10 unit, honestly. I think they could be a top 10 unit, and it starts with the guys that put their hand in the dirt, the front, the foundation. When you talk about having Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark, you got two guys that know how to move other grown men against their will. You got to go get something for Rashawn Gary, and I think he's going to be at his best because this is essentially kind of a contract year for him. So that area, in terms of perimeter pressure, Rashawn Gary has to be the catalyst. My concern is the second level, the off-ball backer position for me. I understand they traded for D. Winters, who under the radar played really, really good football in the midst of all the injuries a year ago in San Francisco. Can he be a consistent playmaker if he's given the opportunity? Overshown, we know what type of player he is, but it seems like injuries or just, getting fully acclimated has always hindered him. Can he stay healthy for him to be at his best and do what he needs to do, especially with his athleticism? And then when it comes to the third level, I think the third level should be much improved this year. The communication should be there. You shouldn't see too many guys not playing on the same page. The effort should be there. And the thing that really annoyed me last year, the Cowboys in the secondary, just the questionable tackling.
Want to,
Yeah, the want to. That's the thing. You got to be a willing participant in tackling for your entire defense to be good. You can't be a guy that I want to participate sometime and sometimes I don't. That just comes with the territory. That comes with your job title. It's not just always about covering. It's about getting guys down and doing so with a forceful will. Like I said, watch Seattle. Watch their secondary players play football. Watch them guys tackle. Watch Houston. Kamari Lassiter is one of the best tackling corners in the game. And he ain't tackling you just jumping on you. He's trying to run through you, regardless of who you are. I mean, when you watch him play, you when you watch Houston play, you be watching him from your living room, you're like, boy. They got some ill intent.
Yeah.
They got ill intent. And their defense was high level, but they didn't have the support from the offense like that. So those are the things that that's what I want. Like, remember what I said? My defensive coordinator said, Florida State, you can't live soft and fight hard. No. So I think Christian Parker is going to set the guidelines for the defense, and he probably has set them already with his first meeting with this new defense for 2026. These are the guidelines. These are our laws. These are what we live by, and they're non-negotiable if you're not doing them, play in and play out. So if you ain't out there playing, 9 times out of 10, you ain't followed these guidelines. And guess what? We all will abide by them if you want to be a championship-like defense. Non-negotiable. And get this, the thing that does, Will, it puts everybody in the room on alert. So now if you're a young boy, right, a first-year guy, second-year guy, I can't be caught stealing boxes on camera. Mm-hmm. If you're an older guy trying to continue to showcase leadership, I got to show these guys how to do it, these young boys. So I'm flying from sideline to sideline because I want them to see if Quentin Williams is doing that, Malachi Lawrence, guess what? I got to. Rashawn Gary hustling like that. When I get out there, guess what I'm doing? Boy, I'm showing my speed.
Flying.
That's how you set a great culture. That's how you set a foundation. And that's how you create winning.
Listen, I don't know if you got coaching in your future, brother, but you got me fired up. I'm ready to go play. I'm ready to fly back down to Dallas and suit up. B, that was great, man. When you talk, I listen. I truly appreciate your wisdom you just shared with us on today's episode, and thank you for your time, man. It's Bryant McFadden, 2-time Super Bowl champion, CBS sports analyst, just dropped a ton of nuggets. If you got anything you want to plug, feel free to do it, brother. It was a fantastic one.
Hey, man, just appreciate you giving me the invite, man. You can catch me, CBS Sports HQ daily, getting ready for this upcoming season, just like you all are doing. Social media, my handles are all the same, BMAC_sports talk. Hey, man, football is right around the corner. They're going to be releasing the schedule. And then guess what? Training camp is almost here. So get ready. Let's get geared up.
Let's get geared up, man. Appreciate y'all for joining us. Cowboys Nation. Till next time, we out. Peace.